Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Patrick.abousleiman. I'm going to be presenting There Must Be Better Way, Tips and Tricks to Survive Everyday Drupal. To start, just want to introduce myself. My name is Patrick. I'm a web developer at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Ottawa. I'm also the webmaster for Special Olympics Ontario Greater Ottawa region, and I was speaker last year at Drupal Camp Ottawa. The goal for today is I want to help you to leave here with at least one tool that you're going to be able to use in your everyday. Basically, we're going to go over a couple of things that we do at university, and then after that, it's just going to be external third-party softwares that you might be able to use in your everyday tasks. We're going to start a little bit with a new Ottawa Drupal overview. We're currently using Drupal 7, we're starting to work on a migration to a newer version of Drupal. We have approximately 300 sites at the university. All Drupal sites have the same build across campus, so it can be a little bit hard to add one module to our build because it's going to affect everyone and everything, and it might interact weirdly with other modules that's been added before. So this made us a little bit more creative, a little bit with when it comes to seeking out third-party softwares or Chrome extensions to help us with our day-to-day tasks. Though, let's start. Is your website looking dull and uninspired? Are you dreaming about some new website features? It's going to be an infomercial theme, just FYI. If you didn't know that before, I'm sorry, but presenting the Ottawa exclusive super secret fancy technology solutions, or as known as custom code. Last year in our presentation, we mentioned that we have a bilingual editor, a Duo editor. And a lot of people came after our presentation and they were like, oh, can we see it, can we see it? So I thought I'd just share it a little bit today. It's very simple. On the back end, we just be able to add the English and French content at the same time because the university is a bilingual university. So it's been custom made for you, Ottawa, but if I remember correctly, it's going to be one of the features in Drupal 8. So it should be a lot easier to do that kind of things if you have a bilingual website. Another custom thing that we do at university is something called DCL, or Dynamic Content List. It's basically just an easy way to create lists of content. It's based on taxonomy, if you have used taxonomy in the past. It's usually a widget that can be added to a panel page. The reason we're using DCL at university is because views can be a little bit complex to work with. So we're just going to showcase an example of our DCL at the university. This is an example of a page. Might not be super clear, but it's in our news, our MedPoint news article at the faculty. At the top, the two lines is just the category, so you can check by year or you can check by category for the news. And then we're grouping them by month and year, and then we're ordering them. So basically what the back end for our DCL look like is at the left side, we're just checking what kind of content. So if it's a basic page, content link, other kind of things. In here we have news article and fun article. We're also showcasing how we want to have it as a result, so how it's going to be displayed. In our case, it's a read more teaser with image, so we have the image, the title, a small resume, and a read more tag on it. On the left side, we're doing the filters. So we're saying I want to check all of those taxonomy terms. So you specify, I want, in this case, awards and recognition, in memoriam students, and other kind of taxonomy. After that, we're sorting them. So we're sorting from newest to oldest by date posted, and then in each category for the month is being ordered by date. After that, we're doing categories. In our case, we're doing two categories. The first one is per year, and then the other one is by taxonomy terms. And this will let us do different categories at the top. And then later on, we're doing grouping them. So under each category, what we do is we group them by month and a year. So We have September 2019, we have October 2019, and then in the future it's going to be November and December and stuff like that. And then lastly, we can have a pager. So we can specify we only want 15 per page and then add a pager after. So it goes from page 1 to page 2 and then it goes on and on. And this is like the result of the entire DCL that we have. I'm not showing this because you won't be able to use our DCL with a custom for university, but it can be a little bit of an idea of what you can do within modules with whatever you have, or with views or any other program that you have, is to think about, you want to filter, you want to categorize, you want to group, and you want to page. Okay, but you might ask, but Patrick, how can I turn my boring old website into something new and exciting? Well, I'm glad you asked. No one asked, but we're going to have some tips and tricks for Drupal. The first tip is revision log messages. It's a module in Drupal 8, Drupal 7, and then we use it at university. Basically, before you save, you have to add a revision log message, which is basically what you just did on that page. It can be you changed an image, you changed the link, you changed the text, or whatever you've done. And then it will just be a history of a log, like a log history for that page. This will allow us to know who did what and when. So in case there's an error, or we want to see who did what, so we can ask them a question, it's going to be a lot easier, especially when there's a lot of staff turnover and you want to know who did what. Another tip is a content style guide. So the content style guide, if you don't know what it is, it's usually a set of rules to help you write for the website. It goes from something super big like the voice that you have for the website, the tone that you want to set for the website. It goes to super detailed stuff like how do you want to write the dates, how do you want to write the numbers. In our case, at the faculty, doctor versus doctor. In French versus English, they have different kind of naming. And this will help a lot of people who are new to your organization, because they might not know those kind of small conventions that you have at the organizations. This has been inspired by We Can Be Friends, Configure Drupal to Play Nice with Content Authors. It's done by Danielle from Cold Front Labs. She did it in Drupal North this summer, and then she's doing it again after the session in room C, if you want to look at it. One of the main things that she talks about is the content style guide and how it's important and what's important of it. And then she gave an example of University of Dundee style guide. I checked it out. It's very, very detailed. They go from like global things to very specific stuff. My colleague told me about Polaris by Shopify. They also do this kind of stuff as well. They have their own content style guide. At the university, we don't have one style guide for the entire university, but we were inspired by this talk to start talking about it within the faculty. I started talking to my team. I know the faculty of engineering start writing it down, and then we're collabing on it to make it a little bit more cross-faculty kind of style guide. Also, I'm sharing a bit.ly at the end of the presentation for this presentation, so you'll be able to get all the links that I'm sharing here. The third tip is paste as plain text. We encourage people to use paste as plain text, especially if you're copying a lot of things from Word document. Usually people will draft everything in a Word document and then they will copy it to Drupal. A lot of times there's a lot of revisions, a lot of comments, a lot of different formatting with highlighting, red, purple, stuff like that. It's good to just strip the entire thing to a plain text and then reformat it in Drupal to be consistent with whatever Drupal code has. And sometimes it might clash with the code that is within Drupal if it's not set up properly. So just be aware of that. The passive voice. So the goal, usually the general rule, is to have less than 2% of a passive voice on the website. The reason why is the phrases are going to be longer. It might be more complicated to have the passive voice, and just make a difference between passive tense and passive voice. There's a tool called Passive Voice Detector by Data Eyes, something like that. You just paste your text into it, and then it will highlight all the verbs over there in that paragraph. And they have a specific tool. It's called the by zombies test. What they do with that is they take those verbs, and then after that, they will add by zombies every single time. Why they do that is, what will happen is, if you have grandma is calling by zombies, that doesn't make sense. But you have every Friday he gets paid by zombies. So that means if it makes sense, it means it's a passive voice. So when you have every Friday he gets paid by zombies, it makes sense, that phrase, it means it's a passive voice, you might want to change that phrase. They do it super easily with a click of a button. They will add by zombies everywhere. Just to make it a little bit more fun, I guess. When we talk about tips, those are general tips, but wait, there's more things to share. We're going to talk about softwares and browser extensions. The first category is the accessibility. So the first extension I want to talk about is Axe. It's developed by DQ System. They're using the Axe open source JavaScript library. It's a browser extension on Chrome. They have around 92K users. They have 4.6 stars. It's a free service, but you can upgrade it to Pro. Right now, as of this talk, Pro is free for a limited time. So if you want to snag it, you can do that. And it only scans the open page. So it will only scan the page that you're open on. Yes?
I think it's available on Firefox too now.
Is it?
Yeah, I think I downloaded it yesterday.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Just FYI.
On their website, they only say Chrome, so they might need to update their website, but it might be available on Firefox as well. To check Axe, you just need either to inspect the page or go into your Chrome extension to more tools, dev tools, and then you'll be able to see it. It's one of the main tabs. It's the last one called Axe. You just need to click Analyze, and then it will give you something like this, a report. It will give you the errors, how to fix it, where the errors are, and just analyze the entire page for you right away. The other extension I want to talk about is called Wave. It's developed by WebAIM. It runs on the browser. On their website, they mentioned that no info on that page is being sent to their Wave server, so it should work for your password-protected websites, intranet, or sensitive information that you don't want those third-party softwares to look at them. It's on Chrome and Firefox with 70K users and 10K users on Firefox, and it also only scans the current page open that you have. Contrary to Axe, Wave will open on the left side of your browser. It's just a small like this with all the errors. It's all clickable, so you can check it out. And it also sometimes gives you a couple of buttons throughout on the header, on the paragraph, on the bullet list in case there's error. So it's like a little bit user interactive to click around it. But at the same time, it can be a little bit overwhelming if you have a page with a lot of accessibility errors. You'll see buttons everywhere on your page. The third accessibility tool is an A-checker. It's a website. You just paste your URL code, you just put it there, and then it's also free and only scan the page that you added there. And it will look something like that. I pasted the URL, and then it tells me there's some known problems, some likely problems, potential, some CSS and HTML validation. It goes through the error, explains how to fix it as well. And then we get to SiteImprove. We use SiteImprove at the University of Ottawa. It's a paid service. It will scan your entire website. It checks for quality assurance, accessibility, SEO, analytics, and a lot of other different stuff like your ranking and then how everything works for your website. It's also a paid service, and it will look something like that. It has a really neat user interface. They have a dashboard. Everything is easy to look at. It will give you a big overview with a score that they have at SiteImprove out of 100. You can go in details into quality assurance, so you can check broken links, misspellings. You can also check PDFs if there's any broken links in the PDFs as well on your website. And then accessibility, it will divide it by A, AA, AAA, every issue. It will tell you how to fix it as well. Lighthouse, it's made by Google. It's an open source and automated. It looks for your performance, accessibility, best practices, SEO, and your progressive web app. It's on Chrome, and it only scans the current page that you're on. Usually, it should be in your Chrome already. It's called Audit. You just go there, you check what you want to audit for, the performance, best practices, stuff like that, and then you run the results, and then it will just give you a small pop-up like this with also a little bit of a score, and then it will, if you scroll down, it will give you a detailed version for every single one of them. Just to note that here the accessibility is 100. I ran all the different checkers on the same page that I have. Here it gave me 100% accessibility, where other checkers gave me that there's accessibility problems on that page. So just make sure if you're looking for an accessibility tool, do your homework, make sure that they're going through everything. If it's a top level, go into detail. If it's doing just level A, double A, and what rules they're going for. The next set is Contrast Analyzer. The first one is called Contrast Checker. It's done by WebAIM. It's a pass or fail test that you do on a website. It will check if your contrast of your two colors passes the WCAG AA or AAA, if it's for normal and large text, and also for your eye component. It looks something like that. On the left side, it fails all the criteria, but what we did is we just made the color a little bit darker. So it's the same shade, just a little bit darker, and then it passes most of the criteria over here. It's a really quick tool. You just need to have the hex code or just pick the color, and then it will do it for you. The other one is the Color Contrast Analyzer. It's done by the Pacello Group. It's an app for Windows and Mac OS. It also has the same similar thing, pass or fail for WCAG AA, AAA, normal and large text. It looks similarly the same. You pick your foreground and the backgrounds, and it gives you an example, and then tell you if it's fail or pass. Same thing over here, we have the shade. We made it a little bit darker. It has the different options to change the shade right away, and then you see it passes all the different criteria. Photo editing. There's a couple of tools that we use for photo editing. At the university, we have the opportunity to use Photoshop, all Adobe tools, but before that, and if you don't have Photoshop or when I was a student, it's hard to pay for that kind of license. So I found a couple of softwares that I use usually. The first one is Pixlr, and that's the first one when I was trying to Google free Photoshop, because I could not afford Photoshop before. It's an online tool. It has the same principle as Photoshop, so you can have layers, you can have all the same tools. Before, it had the same kind of UI as Photoshop, but recently they made a new Pixlr version to make it more easy for the users. It will look something like that, where you have the image, you can have the layers on the right side. The tools on the left side, they look a little bit different than Photoshop, but if you click on any one of them, it will give you all the options for it. So they just condense all the tools, made it easy for people to use. The other one is called Photopea, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's also an online tool, same thing as Pixlr. They do layers, and the only thing different is they open PSD files. So if you already have a Photoshop file, someone sent you, you want to modify something in it, you can just go and then upload it here. It should work fine, and it's also free. And then it will look like this. If you used Photoshop before, it's similar kind of thing with the layers. They also, if you want to contribute to help them, $10 for 3 months, so they can remove the ads on the side if you want to, and then all the Photoshop information on the left side. Now, if you want to edit some photos, you want to create some graphics, but you don't have the Photoshop knowledge, you don't want to deal with all of those buttons, there's another tool called Canva. It's my personal favorite tool. If you have learned nothing from this presentation, at least learn what Canva is. It's not sponsored, but I like using it a lot. It's just a design purpose. It doesn't have all the tricky tools that Photoshop might have. It's based on drag and drop. The user interface is very easy to use. It's free. You can upgrade it for more features. If you are an NGO, you can submit your charity ID. They give you the Pro for free. and we use it for Special Olympics Ottawa. It will look something like this. So it doesn't work with layers, but it's just image on top of image, so you can keep selecting them. They have a lot of different templates that you can use. You can right away select, I want to post for Facebook. It will give you the dimensions right away. You don't have to worry about it. You want something for Twitter. It will give you the dimensions right away for that. And then it's easy on the left side. You just need to search the element, shapes, images, whatever you want, and then create an easy design. Compressor die. If you went to the image master class a little bit ago in room C, you would know that my colleague Jason was talking about compressor die, and I took it from the slides. It's basically just an image compression software. It will compress some areas of the picture, not the entire picture. It will just compress the areas where we not know the difference. It looks something like that. And then you will see on the left and the right, it's between 600 kilobyte to 250 kilobyte. The image will look the same. It just compressed all the parts of the image that you won't show for you that it's been compressed and the quality has been reduced. So if you have a big image, you want to just compress it, put it on the website. This is a great idea. If you're looking for more images, editing information, you can check out Jason's presentation as well. But wait, there's one more thing that I want to show you, which is the markup validator. It's developed by W3C. It checks for your HTML, HTML validity. It's also free, so it's less for content editors and more if you're adding some sort of code. It will just check if HTML is good or not. They also have CSS validation, broken links, RSS feeds to check for those. And then it will look something like that. It will just tell you that there's some errors, there's some warnings in the code itself, if in case you want to know that. So those are all of my tips. I mentioned them all over here with the link to their websites. And if you go to this bit.ly code, so pat DCO2019, you'll be able to download this presentation and then get all the links for all of those codes as well, if you want to. Any questions? Yes? Oh, sure. There you go. I'm also curious to see what other people are using for accessibility, for image editing. If you have any tools that you use that you want to suggest, you can always just email me or talk to me after this presentation. I'm always ready to learn some new tools to add to my list of tools over here. Okay, thank you.